Hi, Coco. Congrats.
Thanks.
This is a bit of a heavier question to start, but you're usually pretty outspoken about political issues, and I'm curious how you feel about the state of the U.S. 1 year into the second Trump administration.
I mean, I think I've already stated my opinions in the past on how I feel about it. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've hoped forward that we can have a lot more peace in our country and more kindness when the way we speak to each other about different topics and things like that. But
Coco Gauff found herself facing a political question at the Australian Open that most athletes would avoid without hesitation. Instead of dodging it or giving a safe, empty response, she chose to answer directly. At just 21 years old, Goff spoke honestly and didn't try to soften her words. What she said about the current state of America quickly sparked intense discussion online, with reactions coming from every direction. Before getting into her comments, let's pause for a moment. Do you think athletes should be expected to answer political questions during press conferences, or should they be allowed to focus only on their sport? Drop your thoughts below. Here's how it all unfolded. Coco Gauff had just cruised past Olga Danilovich at the Australian Open, winning 6-2, 6-2 in roughly an hour and 17 minutes. It was a dominant performance, smooth, efficient, and exactly what you'd expect from the third seed in the tournament. After the match, Goff walked into her post-match press conference. Naturally, she likely expected questions about her serve, her footwork, or what she needed to prepare for in the next round. Instead, the very first question she received had nothing to do with tennis. A reporter immediately asked her about President Donald Trump and the state of America 1 year into his second administration.
I've been pretty vocal about how I felt, and yeah, I don't feel at this point, I feel a bit fatigued talking about it just because of the fact that it is hard also, I think, being a black woman in this country and having to experience things even online, and seeing your marginalized communities being affected, and knowing that I can only really donate and speak out, and I try my best to do that. But yeah, I just hope that as time continues that we can reach a state where we're not currently in and we keep moving forward.
Let that sink in for a second. This wasn't the third or fourth question after easing into tennis talk. It wasn't tucked away midway through the press conference. It was the very first question. The reporter asked, "You're usually pretty outspoken about political issues, and I'm curious how you feel about the state of the U.S. 1 year into the second Trump administration." Most athletes, when put in that position, would freeze or default to a carefully scripted response. You know the type. Something about staying focused on the game, respecting all opinions, and avoiding politics altogether. The kind of answer that sounds polished but ultimately says nothing. Coco Gauff didn't do that. She answered honestly and didn't shy away from the topic. She began by saying, I think I've already stated my opinions in the past on how I feel about it." And she wasn't wrong. Gauff has never hidden where she stands on social and political issues. Over the years, she's spoken openly about racial inequality, gun violence, women's rights, and other subjects that many athletes prefer to avoid entirely. Because of that history, this question didn't come out of nowhere. Goff has made it clear that she's willing to use her platform for more than just tennis, and people know it.
Sort of on the topic of maybe making the world a better place, the UNCF reported that you made a pretty sizable donation to HBCUs, and it's the second time you've done that. If you could speak about the importance of that cause and what it means to you.
Yeah, it's super important for me. I think if I didn't play tennis, I would have loved to attend a HBCU. I have family members on both sides. Both my grandmothers went to HBCUs. Uncle and aunt went to HBCU, and been growing up just going to HBCU classic games and things like that. So yeah, I think for me it was just important to support that cause, especially in tennis. I feel like HBCU tennis a lot of times doesn't get the funding that they need. So for me, I would just always try to uplift, like I said in the previous question, marginalized communities, and support where I can. And so yeah, I hope that it goes to students who really need it, and it will go to students who need it. And yeah, I'm happy that I was able to do this for the second year in a row.
Then she shared something that stood out even more. Goff admitted, "I feel a bit fatigued talking about it, just because of the fact that it is hard. That one word, fatigued, carried a lot of weight. And honestly, it might be one of the most relatable things any athlete has said about politics in a long time. Talking about these issues is exhausting, especially for a young Black woman who is constantly expected to speak not just for herself, but for entire communities, all while competing at the highest level of professional sports. She went on to say, "I hope forward that we can have a lot more peace in our country and more kindness in the way we speak to each other about different topics and things like that." At first glance, that sounds calm and diplomatic. But she didn't stop there. Gauff became more specific, explaining that being a Black woman in America means witnessing and experiencing harm, sometimes even online, and seeing how marginalized communities continue to be affected. She pointed out that all she can realistically do is donate and speak up, and that she tries her best to do exactly that. That part of her answer is crucial. She wasn't speaking in broad, empty terms about unity. She was talking about real experiences, real struggles, and the limits of what one person, even someone with fame, can do. This wasn't a neutral statement. It was a clear observation about the current political climate and who is being impacted the most. She closed by saying she hopes that over time, the country can move toward a better place than where it is now. She referenced a video of Martin Luther King Jr. that she had shared the day before, explaining that it reflected her belief that progress means continuing to move forward, even when things feel unsettled and tense.
I posted that video of Martin Luther King yesterday, and that was kind of saying that we must keep moving forward, even though things may not be as calm as I would like it to be right now.
There's a lot to unpack here. First, the fact that Coco Gauff is being asked these questions at all says something about how she's positioned herself publicly. She's not viewed as just a tennis player anymore. She's become a voice for a younger generation that expects athletes to stand for something beyond their sport. Gauff has consistently used her platform to support causes she believes in, and that naturally leads to political questions, even at tennis press conferences. But this is where things get complicated. She's 21 years old. In some states, she's barely old enough to rent a car, yet she's being asked to comment on American politics on an international stage moments after finishing a Grand Slam match. That's an enormous amount of pressure. Unlike veteran athletes who have spent decades shaping their public image, Gauff is navigating all of this in real time while still growing as both a player and a person. Her comment about feeling fatigued is especially revealing. She wasn't saying she doesn't care. She wasn't dismissing the issues. She was acknowledging how draining it is to constantly explain, defend, and represent viewpoints, often for entire communities, while also trying to remain one of the top players in the world. She also backed up her words with action. During the same press conference, she was asked about her recent $150,000 donation to the United Negro College Fund. This marked her second consecutive year making a major contribution through the Coco Gauff Scholarship Program to support HBCU students. This wasn't just a symbolic gesture. The donation is deeply personal. Gauff has strong family ties to historically Black colleges and universities. Both of her grandmothers attended HBCUs, along with other relatives. She's even said that if tennis hadn't worked out, she would have wanted to attend an HBCU herself. She also explained that HBCU tennis programs often lack proper funding, which is why she chose to focus her support there. The scholarship has already helped 10 students, and her hope is that it gives young Black athletes the confidence to chase their dreams knowing they have real support behind them. This kind of targeted giving goes beyond surface-level charity and creates meaningful impact. Still, the Trump question is what grabbed headlines. Online reactions were exactly what you'd expect. Some praised Gauff for speaking honestly and using her platform with courage. Others criticized her, saying she should stick to tennis, claiming she's too young to understand politics, or accusing her of alienating half the country. These are familiar attacks, especially when Black athletes speak out on issues beyond sports. None of this surprised Gauff. She's been here before. She spoke out during the Black Lives Matter protests. She's addressed gun violence. She knows backlash comes with the territory, and she continues anyway because she believes it matters. Her reference to Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't accidental. By sharing his words and invoking the idea of continuing forward during difficult times, she was clearly aligning herself with the ongoing struggle for civil rights and racial justice. She wasn't being subtle about where she stands. What sets Gauff apart is that she isn't trying to balance being just political enough while staying neutral. She's open about her values and backs them up with real action. That authenticity is why so many young people connect with her. At the same time, she occupies a unique position as the face of American tennis on a global stage. As a young black woman in a sport long dominated by wealth and privilege, her success challenges long-standing assumptions about who belongs in tennis. It's also striking that all of this overshadowed her actual performance. Against Danilovic, she was dominant. She won 75% of second-serve return points, broke serve repeatedly, and improved her incredible record to 14-0 in second-round Grand Slam matches since 2022. She's now through to the third round, where she'll face fellow American Hailey Baptiste. Any of that could have been the main story. Instead, the focus shifted to politics. That's the reality of being Coco Gauff. Her excellence on the court often comes second to her role as a cultural figure, which is both powerful and exhausting. Her honesty about feeling drained stands out because it shows self-awareness. She isn't pretending this is easy. She's admitting it takes a toll while making it clear she'll keep speaking up anyway. Many athletes choose a different path, avoiding political topics altogether, and that's valid. Not every athlete needs to be an activist. But Gauff has chosen responsibility over comfort, even knowing the complications. The timing of the question, 1 year into Trump's second term, was intentional. The reporter was looking for a reaction, and Gauff delivered one that was thoughtful, measured, and sincere, rather than inflammatory. Predictably, the online conversation turned chaotic. Some called her brave, others called her foolish. Political commentators from both sides tried to use her words for their own arguments. Through it all, she's still just a 21-year-old trying to play tennis and stay true to herself. That age matters. Most people at 21 are still figuring out who they are. Gauff is doing it in front of international media while representing her country on one of the biggest stages in sports. The fact that she's handling it with this level of grace is impressive. Her answer resonated because it wasn't abstract. She spoke from lived experience. Online harassment, seeing marginalized communities targeted, and feeling limited in how much one person can do. That honesty is why so many people connected with her words. Looking ahead, it will be interesting to see whether more athletes follow her lead or continue to stay silent. Tennis has a history of political voices, with figures like Billie Jean King and Martina Navratilova setting examples decades ago. Gauff seems ready to carry that tradition forward. The Australian Open is still ongoing, and Gauff remains a strong contender for the title. But this press conference ensured that her run will be about more than tennis. Whether she wants it or not, she has become a symbol in the ongoing debate about sports, politics, and activism. In the end, Coco Gauff didn't avoid the question. She admitted she's tired of constantly addressing these issues, but she made her stance clear anyway. If you want to stay updated on everything happening at the Australian Open and beyond, smash that like button and subscribe.